What's up, all you fishing fools and aspiring painters? I hadn't posted a while to YouTube. I apologize for that, man. I've just been so busy. I hadn't really had a chance to do anything, man. I've been between my regular job and painting. It's been crazy. But anyway, I just wanted to give a quick tip for some newbies. So basically, what I've got is I've got a client that wants something very specific in a specific color pattern. And a lot of times you don't know how colors are going to match or how they're going to look. So I'll give you a quick little tip of what I do is I buy these cheap plastic spoons. You think about it, if you're airbrushing a plastic paint bait, this is probably pretty close to it. So I've already kind of put a black coating on this because the client wants, a black base coat. And then basically what I'm trying to do is for what they want, I'm trying to find the best yellow to match what they want over this black. So in case you don't know, anytime, and black can be a really cool base coat, but there's definitely some things you have to do. So whenever you use a black base coat, if you're gonna paint a pattern or something over it, you have to mask it and come back and basically do almost a second base coat of wherever you're going to put the other color paint white. Because if you don't, a lot of the other paints that you'll put on top of this black, like I'm fixing to try a couple of different yellows to see what matches. And if I put yellow directly on top of this, especially like one that's the least little bit transparent, that black's going to bleed through and it's going to make that yellow look dingy. So what I'll do is I'll come back now. I don't have a stencil or anything on this because I'm basically just trying to see how these yellows, different shades of yellow, are going to look right on this black. And I'm basically trying to match it up as best as I can with the client. Hopefully I can go straight out of a bottle with a couple of different yellows that I have, and then I may have to mix some white in the yellow or do whatever I have to do to get it the right tone. So I'll start off with doing the white. I went ahead and sprayed the black just because black's such a really pain in the butt to clean out of your airbrush when you're going from a dark color to light. And as I've told you before, when at all possible, you want to go lighter colors to darker colors. That way you don't have to worry as much about your paints getting messed up or mixed, or cleaning your gun is thoroughly. But obviously if you're doing a black background, you have to do black first. You have to do your dark color first. So you want to make sure that your airbrush is cleaned out really well, because if it's not and you put this white that you're going to do for your other little coat, it's going to be gray. So you just want to make sure that's cleaned out well. Always make sure your paint's shaking well. And again, this is pretty much a newbie video. This is not like some kind of stellar technique that I invented. I saw this somewhere else years ago. And you think about it, plastic spoons are cheap, and it's going to give you more of an idea of what's happening on that plastic spoon versus, say, paper or something that's going to kind of halfway absorb your paint. So I'm going to spray a little bit of white on this. Nowhere specific. Like I said, I'm just basically trying to see how this yellow is going to match up on this black. And normally I do wear a respirator, but I don't when I'm filming. And I'm not like trying to be really neat or precise with this. You can see I'm basically just putting one little white spot on top of that black. And I'm gonna try a couple of different color yellows on these spoons. Let me clean this out real quick, get this white out. I'm not as worried about as thoroughly cleaning this white out. Obviously I'm gonna get it as good as I can, but it's not like having a dark color or black in here and going to another one. Worst case scenario, it's gonna lighten it up just a tad. But I'm gonna still go ahead and clean this out while this is sitting here. And before I do this, you'll see that I'm gonna hit this with a blow dryer to heat set it, just because sometimes white colors, as I said, when you put this on there and it mixes, it's not going to give you truly what it's going to look like on the bait. So I'm basically, when I'm doing this on this spoon, I'm trying to emulate of what it would look like on a bait. It is a white spoon, but you know, most of my blanks either start out clear or white or off-white. And most of the time my base coat is white. This particular time, it's gonna be a black base coat. So like I said, I'm just trying to really see. You know, you always want to test spray this to make sure there's no color coming out. There's not. So I'm gonna start with this yellow here. I've already shaken these some before we even got on camera. And, you know, I'm just gonna put a couple of drops. And also, because I'm really trying to see, you know, how these yellows are gonna match up, even though I'm putting another yellow in here, and when I get through with this one, it's a different shade of yellow. So I'm gonna make sure my gun is thoroughly clear so I can get a really good picture. And you only need like 1-2 drops. This is apparently a brand new bottle, so I gotta tear this little thing off of here. There we go. And if I was testing it to do over a white base coat, I would still paint this white spoon white, just because this is kind of a shiny white. And my base coats are usually a little bit not as shiny. So again, by doing this on the spoon, you're trying to, you know, emulate as close as you can to the bait that you'd be spraying. You know, and a lot of times this is not that big a deal when you're doing it for yourself or whatever. But like I said, this is actually for a client. Are you kidding me? I can't even get this paint to come out of here. That's why there's a second layer on there. A little piece of plastic there. All right. Now this is coming off. All right. Now we'll be able to get us some paint out of here for real this time. I'm just going to put a couple of drops. Test spray and see what's coming out of here. And again, I'm not trying to get fancy or anything. I'm just trying to see what this compressor stop. I'm just trying to see what this yellow is going to look like on this particular black under the white. And these two yellows may be close. You know, I've had it before where it's really close enough to what the client wants that I could use either or. But I still like to test it to try, so I don't have to start over on a bait and just clean it off. Because what I do a lot of times is that if it is a custom order, I'm putting, you know, my base coat on, and then because I'm gonna probably put a stencil over it, I use what they call an intra coat, which is like a mid coat or kind of a clear coat in between your paints. And basically what that does is that kind of keeps, when you put the stencil on there, it'll keep the stencil from pulling up your paint or scratching your bait. So I got that pretty cleaned out, and I'm going to try it with a little bit different yellow and just see if this makes a difference. Now this is going to be more of a pearl yellow. I'm going to put just a couple of drops. Now normally if I'm spraying a lot of this pearl, just because it's a pearl, I will thin it. I feel like it flows better if it's thin, I guess because of little glitter particles or whatever in it. So actually, other than this being glitter glittery. They're pretty close. I could probably get away with either one of these, but I think the glitter will be have a little more pop to it. And I'm gonna dry these just to make sure. And again, I'm not really trying to get fancy with these. I'm just trying to see what they would look like. And you probably really can't see it too well. They're so close. I mean, they're really close in color. This regular yellow may be a little bit slightly darker than this pearl, but it's only slightly. So anyway, that's kind of a tip I can give you. You know, like I said, these plastic spoons are cheap. You can buy them at the dollar store for a little bit of nothing. And, you know, and you can even put patterns on there and practice doing smaller patterns or smaller detail work on these if you want to. But I mainly just use them to kind of see what colors are going to look like if I'm putting them on top of each other. Sometimes if I have a new clear coat, one that I've never used, or maybe a new can that I've opened, I'll actually dip these spoons in that clear coat and let that clear coat dry on these spoons just like I would a lure, and I'll test them on the spoons. So there's a lot of applications you can do with these plastic spoons. But that's it, man. That's my little tip. I hope it helps somebody out. Like I said, it's not anything that I came up with, but it's something that I've been doing for quite a while. And, you know, it's really helpful to give you an idea of what these paints will look like when you put them on a bait. Wash All Custom Baits, baby. Get you some.